Hello and welcome to iHeart Cooking. I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stachler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are brought to you by Reed Health Community Benefits, WCTV, and today we're in lovely Elstro Plaza in downtown Richmond. Today on iHeart Cooking, we are going to grill a heart-healthy meal. Episode, we're going to be grilling a heart-healthy meal. Everything we're going to do from start to finish is going to be on that grill.
Absolutely.
A lot of steps with this one, but yeah, it can be very easy at the same time. So we're actually doing a jerk chicken with a Hasselback zucchini with an avocado dipping sauce.
Yes.
So we have 3 different components with it. The first one we're actually going to do is the jerk chicken because it needs to marinate.
Yes, absolutely. Jerk chicken. Allspice, cinnamon. We're going to use a little bit of lime juice, some honey, some grated ginger, some thyme, just a plethora of different options. We're going to add a little bit of heat with a jalapeno pepper. We've got some brightness, some bite from the green onion, and garlic that's just going to kind of bring it all together. So first thing we're going to do, we are here at the at Jack Elstro Plaza, and right now is the farmer's market.
Yes.
Wonderful opportunity for fresh vegetables and everything. Green onions, jalapenos. We've got some zucchini in this, even some chicken. All options that are available here. So that makes it wonderful too, because you can actually help out the community.
Local farmers
yes,
market.
Absolutely. So, cutting the bottoms off of the green onion. We're gonna slice them kind of thin.
Nice thing about green onion, you can use all the way up. It all has flavors.
Oh, yeah.
And we're putting it into that marinade, so it's something the more flavor you have, the more it's going to be adding to that flavor.
We're going to go ahead and mince it so that some of those juices, some of those oils from the green onion itself kind of release into that chicken, because we are marinating it. You can marinate it overnight. You can marinate it maybe 2 hours. I wouldn't go any less than that because you really want it to absorb all those flavors. So
absolutely.
I'm gonna go ahead and chop it up and get that started.
If you're looking at meal prep, one nice thing is to kind of break it up so it don't seem so intimidating. You can actually put the chicken in the marinade the night before and finish out the rest of the recipe the next day.
Absolutely. So in this pan here, I've got 2 chicken breasts, 2 3-ounce chicken breasts. Cleaned off all the fat, all the excess fat from it, so it is incredibly lean. And we're going to start adding our ingredients. First one I did, I put the green onion in there. Next one I'm going to add just a little bit of garlic. Again, you can crush these and leave them whole, but if you really want that garlic flavor, that's not enough. You're going to actually have to mince it. You're going to have to smash it and let those oils kind of seep out. And I'll show you what that means. You're just going to go through here and slice it really thin.
And if you ever do that with garlic, afterwards you know it's kind of sticky. That's a lot of those oils and that flavor that's being infused out, which makes it nice for that marinade.
Absolutely. So again, just like we did with the green onion, you're gonna rock your knife back and forth, go through the garlic, get it into small pieces, and gather it together real quick. And then what I'm gonna do is take the flat end of my knife here, lay it on top, sort of at an angle so the blade is facing down and the top is up off of it, and press. And while I'm pressing, I'm kind of just sliding.
Yep.
What that's doing, and you'll be able to smell it, so you'll know right away, all those oils are getting pressed out of that garlic. And we're making a garlic paste. So we've gone ahead, released all those. We're just going to chop it just a little bit more.
Again, maximizing that flavor.
Then it's going to go straight into our marinade. Next one we're going to do a jalapeno. Always wear gloves, especially when you're dealing with hot peppers, serranos, jalapenos, habaneros, anything like that. Especially when you're outside, because if you're grilling outside, good chance the weather's going to be nice, so it's going to be a little warm. You get a little sweat running down your face, you don't think about it, and you just work with the jalapeno.
Yep. You're
going to be hurting in a little bit. So always wear gloves, easily interchangeable. You won't have to worry about that burn later on.
Yeah.
So.
I say just the other week I was working with jalapeno peppers. I was actually making stuffed jalapeno peppers on the grill. Didn't have gloves available, so I thought, oh, I'd be okay. Went to actually touch my 2-year-old son later on, and he actually felt the heat from those jalapeno peppers. Yeah, that's how intense they can be. So definitely take precaution, wash your hands very well, but still, even after washing your hands, you still get that heat.
It's still there, yeah. So I went ahead and cut it in half, and I'm just taking my thumb and running it across the membrane on the inside, peeling out all the white membrane, all the pith. We're also taking out all the seeds, so all we have left is the flesh. By taking out that pith, it takes away some of that heat, so it's not as hot. So if you really like heat, which is perfectly fine, you can just cut out those seeds and leave that in there, and you're gonna still develop a little bit more heat from that. So here we are. Slice it thin like we did our green onions and our garlic. Mince it up. And this one doesn't have to be incredibly fine, because we're going to let this sit overnight when we make this marinade. So all those water, all that moisture, all those oils inside the jalapeno are going to leach out into, the rest of this marinade. So it doesn't have to be incredibly, finely chopped. Just a rough chop. And then straight into the marinade here. Okay. Next things we're gonna do, we've got a lime. Lime's gonna go on the cutting board. It's firm, or if you purchase them and they're firm, easy way to soften them right here. Roll it, put a little pressure with your palm on it. As it goes, you'll feel it getting softer and softer. By doing that, what it's doing is all of that juice that's inside of there, it's actually breaking it up and making it easier. So when you cut into it, it's easier to squeeze some of that juice into it. So
otherwise you're working extra hard to get the juice out from it, and then you're going to tend to get a lot of the inside from that lemon into your marinade as well. It just makes the process a lot easier. Nice thing about lemons, they don't really have those seeds there where you have to catch it. But if you were using a lime, I should say lime. If we have limes, they don't have the seeds there to catch it. But if you use a lemon, sometimes you might want to put your hand underneath, because it'll help catch those seeds, so you're not getting those into your final product.
Absolutely. So we have our juice in there. Gonna go ahead and add some ground allspice.
Some cinnamon.
Some cinnamon.
Oops. Ginger.
A little bit of ginger. So we've got our mixture. We're adding just a little bit of dried thyme. You can use your hands if you've got gloves on. If not, use tongs, whatever. Kind of just toss it around just to mix it up. If you're gonna let it sit overnight, you can come back to it in a couple hours, mix it around again, make sure that the top part is getting just as marinated as the bottom is. So
I say sometimes I put it in a container that seals around it, and I'll just kind of shake it up halfway through, or maybe the next morning. Let's say I make it the night before, next morning I'll shake it up and I'll cook with it that night.
So the last thing that we're going to do to our marinade before we put it in the cooler, we're going to add just a little bit of honey, just right on top. It's going to have a great amount of sugar.
Sweetness.
Very, very sweet. Yes, it's wonderful.
And it's a natural sweetness versus adding like granulated sugar to it. The other nice thing, being out here in Elstro, Plaza, we talked about, the fresh vegetables, the fresh produce, or the meat you could possibly get. They also have some fresh honey here.
So that's good and mixed up. Gonna cover it up, put it in the refrigerator 1 or 2 hours, come back to it, mix it up again.
Be ready to grill it.
You really could, yeah, absolutely. So we've let our chicken marinate for a couple hours. You can see it's really released a lot of the juice from the chicken itself, floating around in some water there. All you're going to do is pull it out, wipe it clean. It's going to go straight on our grill. So, the reason we're wiping it clean, you don't want to leave all those, the dried herbs, that garlic, all the peppers, because what's going to happen is the longer that it sits on there, the darker it gets. It's going to burn all those herbs. That garlic's going to overcook. It's going to get bitter. So it's really going to change the flavor. Yeah. So you really want to wipe it clean. It's been sitting in there a long time, so it's really developed that flavor really well.
Yeah, you don't need to have that extra on there. I feel like a lot of people think they need to have that on there. They visually need to see it. But again, all of that has been incorporated in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to let that go, probably 4 or 5 minutes on each side. Then we'll come back, get some zucchini, slice it up, Hasselback style, and go from there. I
say the final temp we're going to want on that chicken is 165 to make sure it's cooked through and through. If you're not comfortable knowing that temperature here when we get closer, it's always nice having a thermometer on hand.
Absolutely. If you're coming to your grill and the chicken itself is sticking, just be patient with it. All that's doing is it's just telling you it's not ready to be flipped yet. It's not completely cooked through. When it is, you'll feel it. You'll just stick your tongs or your spatula, whatever you're using underneath there, and it'll easily release and go to the other side. So just be patient. If it's sticking, don't scrape at it, because all you're doing is tearing that meat, and it's going to make it a little tougher. It's going to make it a little drier. So just a little patience with that, and that's all you need. Yeah. To give you a good idea, if you're unsure about chicken, and you don't have a thermometer on hand, you will be able to see the moisture that comes out of the chicken itself. If it's running clear, that means that the meat is completely cooked through. If it's a little cloudy, it's still not entirely there, so just be a little patient. You'll be able to tell too, when you go to flip it over, you'll see the liquids dripping off of it. If it is cloudy, it's not ready, it's not finished. Just be patient with it. But if it's running clear, a good chance that it is done. Way that I always tell that if it is done with chicken, I always feel right here on my hand. This finger, your ring finger and your pinky finger especially, if you ever notice it's real firm and it bounces back when you touch it, that's what you want with chicken. If it's not done, it's going to be real soft. It's going to be like that middle finger, that index finger. It's going to be real tender. It's not going to bounce back nearly as fast as the other two. So if you don't have a thermometer, safest way to do it is to cut it open and check and see. But if you don't want to do that because you're going to lose moisture, you're going to lose flavor, you can look at it. If it's running clear, good chance it's done. Last thing you can do is just check with your hand. If it's this feel right here on the breast itself, which that one's about there, then it's all done. You're safe to take it off the grill. So.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing I feel like a lot of people do cut into it and then they end up getting it overcooked and too dry then. And then you're losing a lot of that texture, and it's going to be a little bit harder to eat. You're not going to have that nice moist chicken.
Absolutely. So our chicken's complete. What we're gonna do real quick, take some of our foil here and create kind of a tent, if you will, to keep it warm, keep it inside. Set that there with that, thank you. Gonna just sit it right in the middle, fold it over.
Impact all the heat.
Yeah, what that's going to do is keep all that heat in there. It's not going to be over a heat source, so it's not going to continue cooking, but it allows it to stay warm while you move on to your next step.
And all those juices will stay intact as well, keeping it nice and moist.
Yeah, it's the same concept as steak. They tell you to wait. After you cook steak, don't just dive right into it, because it's still in that cooking process and it's still going to release all those juices. You give it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's not going to be piping hot, but it's going to bring all those juices back into the meat itself, and it's just going to improve that flavor tremendously.
Absolutely.
And I like medium rare steak anyway, so my steak's not hot anyway, so I can deal with that. So
the next step is going to be the Hasselback zucchinis. We're used to using that mostly for
potatoes. Yeah,
but now we're going to
tomatoes.
use something that's a little bit less in calories, less in carbohydrates, getting you a little bit more of those different colors, so a lot of that nutrition. And right now at farmers market, these are coming off the ground, out of the gardens, into the farmers markets very quickly, and a lot of them.
Absolutely. So yeah, the Hasselback, the concept behind the Hasselback is you're going to do a series of really thin cuts all the way across whatever you're using, but not all the way through. What that does is it allows you to open it up, fan it out, so you can put different seasonings in it. In our instance, we're using Parmesan cheese, Italian seasoning, and a little bit of oil. The reason that you don't go all the way through, obviously, is because then you just have the medallions. You're not really going to get that
Hasselback kind of
display, the presentation to it. If you're unsure about your knife skills, you're not really good with them at home, that's perfectly fine. An easy thing that we've learned to do, 2 cutting boards, and you just take your zucchini, place them in between there so that it's actually on the ground. What these cutting boards will do is you can go all the way down to the cutting boards.
And you're not going all the way through.
Yeah. So it's foolproof. Anyone can do this at home. And it's all still one piece. So, very, very easy.
Yes.
What we're gonna do is kind of open it up, fan it out just a little bit so that it opens up that space. And we're gonna make foil boats out of them so we can throw it straight on the grill.
One good thing about using a smaller zucchini, we mentioned this in previous cooking classes, shows a lot of people tend to gravitate towards that large zucchini. Well, unfortunately, when you have a large zucchini, if you ever cut that open, it's full of seeds. We don't want a lot of those seeds because you're missing out on a lot of, I guess, the meat of the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not going to want to chew on those seeds. The bigger the zucchini, the bigger seed is, and it ends up being actually a lot of waste. So you're better off choosing a smaller zucchini where you can use the whole entire product versus that larger zucchini. The other nice thing is a lot of times zucchinis, you might be purchasing it by pound, but it might be weighing it. So the bigger, you might spend more money. So definitely try to get the smaller ones. Definitely sweeter in flavor, easier, use the whole entire thing without wasting.
Yes. Now what I went ahead and did on the end here, I covered that with foil, because what's going to happen with that, if you leave that exposed to it, it's going to burn and it'll get really bitter, and it'll impart that smell, it'll impart that flavor on the rest of the zucchini. So really simple, just cover it up. You do that with birds, chicken, turkey, especially during the holidays and things like that. You cover those in so that they don't burn. That's essentially all you're doing here with that zucchini. So just finishing up our little boat here. What that's doing is it's going to protect the zucchini. It's going straight on the grill. You're not going to touch it. You're going to leave it alone for about 15 minutes. It's going to cook all the way through there. So having that double layer of foil under there helps protect it so that it doesn't burn. We've done foil packs on previous episodes. That's what that is for. When that's cooked through, it's not charred, but it is steamed. It's nice and tender. It still holds its shape really well, and you'll have a Hasselback zucchini here pretty soon.
It'll also help keep, eventually, when we add everything else in there too, all the flavors intact.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just going to go right on top. About 15 minutes from now, we'll come back to it, pull it off, put our ingredients on, and then just finish it on the grill.
So while the zucchini's grilling there for about 15 minutes, we're going to move on to our avocado dipping sauce. So what we're going to use for this is we are actually going to be using a sour cream, or you can use a plain Greek yogurt. And then we're going to have an avocado, and we're going to add a little bit of citrus with the lime.
Cutting avocados, if you've seen in previous classes, sharp knife is always the best to do with this. It goes through all the way until you get to the seed and you can't go anymore. Roll it right there on the blade itself until you reach the other side, and then that'll come right off. Take the 2 pieces and twist it, and your avocado is separated into 2 pieces. You can use a spoon to get the seed out, or you can use your knife that butt end of the knife really works best. You just go in there and stab it, give it a twist, and that pops right off of there with no problem. So the next step, use your spoon, get underneath that shell there, kind of just slide it all the way around. To pop it off. Now I've seen people use sharp knives and go through and cut it. It's a wonderful presentation to do it that way. I wouldn't recommend it for people at home just because that shell isn't incredibly strong. I mean, I just tore it apart like that. So if you have that sharp knife and you're trying to make those hashes in there, you can easily cut your finger. You'll easily go through there. So, unless you're trying to really impress someone, this is the easiest way to do that. So,
yep.
So we have our avocado. Cut that piece off there. We're just gonna dice it into small dice because we're gonna add it straight into our sour cream. A little bit of citrus. We're just gonna mix it up.
Yep. When we mix this up, you can use a handheld blender, you can use an immersion blender, you can use any blender you have at home, food processor. We're actually just going to use a fork here in Elstro Plaza today, just because it's going to be, the avocado's soft, we're just going to kind of break it up. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be incorporated like you would get with a blender, which is actually going to add a nice little texture to that, especially for individuals who like that texture, and not so much just that smooth kind of
pasty consistency.
Pasty consistency there. And it's soft enough you can break that up with a fork.
So while Jennifer's breaking that up, again, we're just going to roll our lime to soften that.
Releasing all those juices there.
Then we're just going to go right on top. Something else that lime's going to do, avocado has a tendency to oxidize when it touches air, when it's exposed to air. So by adding that lime juice, that's going to slow that down. That's going to prevent that from happening quickly. Yogurt, Greek yogurt, anything that has some acidity to it, even the sour cream will help it. But having just that direct acid from the lime, from a lemon, that has been known to help it out, last the longest, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we've about got the cream done here.
Yep, and we're just waiting on the zucchini to finish cooking, and then we can bring it all together a little bit.
So we've gotten it nice and soft. What we're gonna do, a little bit of oil on there to kind of finish it. A little Parmesan cheese and some Italian seasoning. Just right over the top.
And olive oil is great to work with when you're cooking on the grill.
Yeah, the smoke point's fairly high. You won't need to worry about it burning or getting anything bitter. That's a very good point.
And then the nice thing is the Parmesan cheese is going to add a little bit of that saltiness flavor without us adding salt. We're using a no salt Italian seasoning. This is going to add a nice kind of flavor there to that. We'll let the cheese melt a little bit, and then we'll take that off the grill and make our whole meal.
Yep. So we've allowed the cheese to melt. It's nice and soft here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that zucchini off. Put it right here on our cutting board. We're going to go ahead and plate the finished meal.
So again, we have our Hasselback zucchini with Parmesan cheese, salt-free Italian seasoning, a little bit of olive oil, cooked through. We'll plate that. We have our marinated chicken breast that we have here in the foil, still being warm. And then we also have the avocado dipping sauce. So place some of the avocado dipping sauce here. Want that off to the side. That'll
be good, yeah. Gonna go ahead, put some of our Hasselbacks on there, open it up just a little bit. There we go. And then finish it off with our jerk chicken.
So while Dugan's getting that ready, putting that on there, nice thing what I like about this, it is close to a complete meal. We have our protein from the chicken, you have your non-starchy vegetable from the zucchini. Nice thing about the avocado is you're getting a good healthy fat there as well. One nice thing I would add to this is some fresh fruit maybe, a nice yogurt or a glass of milk, and you have a nice complete meal.
Absolutely.
So we'll cut this up and take a bite.
Go ahead.
So I'll get the chicken here with a little bit of the dipping sauce from the avocado. That chicken has amazing flavor after letting it marinate. It is nice and juicy and tender. Best thing we probably do is let in the oil or the water and all the juices go back into the chicken there in the foil. And that avocado just adds a nice creamy flavor to that.
The zucchini's nice and tender. It's got a little bit of a char on the bottom of it just because we let it sit for 15 minutes.
Yep.
But what that does is just it actually helps enhance that flavor just that much more.
Absolutely.
Salt of the Parmesan, Italian seasoning, it's just really good.
Very good. A lot of recipes you can use from your garden, your farmer's market. A lot of ingredients we use today, and we hope you enjoyed this meal. Thank you for tuning in to iHeart Cooking. We hope you enjoyed this meal that we grilled that is heart healthy.
For more heart healthy recipes like the one today, visit readhealth.org/iHeartCooking.
We'll see you next month.